Hi guys, welcome to Juliet's Not Dead Song Stories. The idea here is to bring touring musicians and songwriters into our studio to discuss different methods of songwriting. As a songwriter myself, I have loads of different ways that I approach songwriting, but I'm really intrigued to find out how other people do it. Today I'm joined by a very good friend of mine, Mr. Conor Michael, here in the studio. And we've known Conor for a very long time, and this is the first time that I've actually got to sit down with him and ask him some of these questions. So Conor, welcome to Song Stories.
Thank you very much. And it's weird doing it because we've probably known each other for about 6 years or something.
Yeah, something like that.
It's probably the first time we've had a proper sit down. That isn't in between like 3 minutes of a gig.
Yeah. Other than like a quick pint and like, how's the family and all that. Yeah, you don't really get that chance to like really talk to each other about our craft and and how it all comes together. So this is really interesting for myself. So just to start things off, please tell the people watching a little bit about yourself and how you got started in music.
Yeah, so I'm a singer-songwriter. That's normally the genre I've went with, and then it kind of fiddles into like sort of pop music. But I do take sounds from different places as well. Getting into music, I got in quite late. I was 2017 is when I started teaching myself guitar. Went to a few open mic nights. Sounded really poor. Kept doing it, and then it just kind of took off from there. Really, it just became a hobby that turned into a job. Which is, I've had worse jobs. I'm not gonna lie.
No, we all. Obviously, I met you through a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Scott Kears, and it was all through open mics and going to gigs together. And I run a night in Newcastle on a Thursday at Filthy's, and I remember we used to do like sets every week. So it got like a regular thing every Thursday night. We would meet up and play songs together, and it was really good fun. So how would you describe the type of music that you write yourself?
So mine, I never came from any sort of like musical background, so I never kind of see myself as being really musical. I know how to do this or that, but I was always good at sort of like English literature. I could like write stories. I could come creative. So I suppose songwriting, I go poetic. I always kind of work more on lyrics than I do on the actual music.
Yeah.
With me playing live, I'm a one-man band. I use the loop pedal, so it's very easy to be basic with the loop pedal because it's just a simple drum pattern or it's on repeat. It's the same thing. Yeah. But I can take pride that the lyrics have the poetic side to it, and I try to make that kind of overcompensated.
Yeah, that's where the massive amounts of creativity comes from. Yeah, I get that.
So yeah.
No, I totally get that. Was there a specific reason that you got into music? Like, what was the reason behind you wanting to do it?
So there's a bit of a dark story to how I got into music officially.
Right.
And it was, the light side is years ago, one of my friends, Kieran, he's a fantastic musician. And we used to open my nights when we started, but I'd said, I fancy learning guitar one day, like New Year's resolution. And he bought his standard guitar for Christmas, and like, go on, get yourself away. And I never really did, but I got to the point where I was going between different jobs, and it was at the point where life was basically just I'm going to work, now I'm waiting for the weekend, and then it's like the same repetitive thing that you get. So instead of just constantly going out, I just picked up a guitar for 6 months. It was when Ed Sheeran's Divide album came out. So I taught myself, which is why I've got the Divide symbol tattooed. And I just kept teaching myself guitar for 6 months, and it was alright. Started doing open mic nights and whatnot. There was a scenario where it put me into a big depression state, again, years ago. But I was advised to speak to doctors and counsellors and stuff.
Okay.
And the doctor, he said, look, realistically, we could prescribe you like antidepressants and send you in counselling. But if you've got the ability to teach yourself guitar in 6 months, that can kind of work as a therapy. So it might be worth just staying in the creative thing. And kind of since then, I don't think there's been a day really that I haven't picked up a guitar. And it's kind of just been that whole keeps you afloat. It just keeps you sane.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Because like it's mental how empowering music is. So a lot of people will see from the outside and think, they're just singing songs and bars or whatever. Well, like for example, my mum, she works for Age UK, and they work with like a lot of dementia people.
Okay.
And And one of the things that happens a lot is music sort of brings back a muscle memory. So they tend to say, it's not exactly like scientifically proven, but they tend to say if you can stay, like with us learning guitar patterns and stuff, it exercises your mind, you stay more mentally healthy with it.
Yeah, switched on, innit?
Like I'll go and do local gigs for them in their community, and they might really not know what's going on during the day, but I'll play some songs from back in their time, and then you can see them straight back into singing it, and it's just like, it's mental how music just kind of works to keep your mental health afloat.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's probably my main reason why I stuck at it, and then it just kind of worked out.
And then it became the way it is. Yeah. I know a few things, like all of my family have played instruments, as you know, and like my granddad was in a home and he used to play the accordion. He stopped playing when he got to that point, but there was a couple of guys that were in there with him who were very far gone with dementia, but one of them was a guitar player and the other one was a singer, and they didn't have a clue what was going on, but he picked his guitar up and they both start just playing and then forget everything else. Nothing else made any sense, but the songs that they used to play in the 50s and 60s, they knew everything. It was like, that's so cool.
It's just like a magic thing, isn't it?
Yeah, really cool.
It's the only cure there is at some levels.
Yeah. That's mega. I love that.
Yeah.
So songwriting wise, what's your process? Do you have a strict formula that you use, or does it change song to song?
It changes. When I first started, obviously when you first start, there's loads of options you can do because everything's fresh.
Yeah.
It's like starting on a blank canvas, and then the more you paint on it, the less you've got to do something original.
Yes.
So when I first started, it was just like write lyrics down. I probably wrote lyrics throughout being at like high school and stuff, with no intention of doing anything with it. And then going back for old books and going, oh, that works, I'll tie them together, then I can make songs. The more I get into songwriting now, it's tougher to do that because you don't want to repeat the same kind of similarities. It's like this, oh well, I've already used a song about water, don't want to do too much of that, and then except this EP I've got is I've made it nautical theme so that I can get away with using metaphor twice. So it changes at the minute. What I did, I wrote an album which will be out next year, and then we went away to a log cabin in August, me, Ashley and the kids, and I was like, right, you guys can have your chill time, I'm taking my guitar with us. So it was my kind of get out, write songs, but I didn't have a lot of song ideas and what to do, but I thought maybe a fresh mindset. And this is the first time I've done this process, but what I've done is we went out, we walked around like this big waterfall and whatnot, and I was just like making notes of different obscure things that I could see. So there was like orange leaves, waterfall, and when we got back, I had like a list of 20 things. I was like, that's a good song title, and I've made songs based on the song title. Wow. So I've kind of like just picked out the songs, and like I can make that work when I've got something that fits it.
Yeah.
They're not all complete, but it's kind of like I know I need a song about this one, and eventually when I find lyrics that fit that, I'll start writing them in. Right, that works to that song.
Yeah.
And the same as every songwriter, I've got notes and notes and notes with different lyrics that don't make sense, but I'm like, lyric 1 and 6 could actually merge better, and then 2 and 7 can go there, and they're all different songs.
It's like a big jigsaw puzzle, isn't it, when you're writing like that?
Yeah. So I don't have an official answer, but that's my current process at the minute.
Yeah, so this is definitely a lyrics first kind of approach. Yeah, that's really cool because, as I say, like everybody has their own sort of methods and ways of getting that end result. Me and the lads sort of work best like kind of under pressure with it. It's been a long time since we've done any songwriting that was what I would like to call leisurely songwriting, where you just go, you write and you go, oh, a little bit of spare time here, let's see what comes out. It's been like, right, we're recording an album in 3 weeks' time, we better write some songs, and the way that we tend to write stuff like that is always music first. We kind of have lists of where we want to go lyrically and like story wise, but it's always try and get the music, and then the lyrics will sort of find their place in it. But I've never really tried the lyric first thing. So I've wrote stuff down and gone like that, but I've always found that the music comes first for me. But that's really, really cool that you go out there and you're finding sort of inspiration just within like the nature.
Yeah.
Like that's really, really cool. I love that. So this first song you want to play for us today, give us a little bit of background about it. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so this one's called Horizon. This is the title track to the EP. It's a bit of a slow one, but the more I'm playing it live, the more it's becoming one of my favourites, because, again, with me not having any sort of musical training, never really learned guitar bar YouTube, never had any singing lessons. It's the first song that when I'm playing it live, I can feel there's a difference, because I'm pelting it, and there's not really a song I've wrote where I've been able to just really go full 100%.
Yeah.
It's always felt restricted at some level. And this song I wrote, I can't really remember when, either earlier this year or late last year. And I wrote a song that came out earlier this year called Burning Alive, and that was kind of like burnout and how you just do too much.
Yeah.
And Horizon's similar, and it's kind of like, so the lyrics to it is like, it was me who jumped into the waves, now I'm there, I drift away, and it's like, it's me that chose to do all of this at once, and it's just taken us away, and then it comes to the point where you're like, if it's too much, it's too much. You kind of go with the flow, but if you can overcome it, you can overcome it, but it's just that kind of like, you're drowning, essentially, and it's your fault, because you did it.
We've all been there,
yeah. So yeah.
Right.
Give it a play.
Against the tides, I'm pushed against the rocks. I've come so far from far away that I have forgot that it's me who jumped into the waves, and now I'm there, I drift away over the horizon. Now I'm breathing with nowhere, it's something I just grin and bear. Over the horizon, drifting away, drifting away. So swimming against the tide, there's no shore in sight. It was me that took the dive in the waters of delight. The blue's now clear on my skin, there's nowhere left for me to win. Over the horizon, now the night turns into day. It once was bright, but now it's grey. Over the horizon, I'm drifting away. I'm drifting away.
Right, well, back to part two. When you're recording a song like that, or sorry, when you're writing a song like that, is there a particular mood you need to be in, or can you control your mood to sort of put yourself in a state of mind for a song like that?
I reckon there's a mood you have to be in. Again, having loads of different song lyrics helps, because when you're in that mood, you'll find the right lyric, and that'll accompany where you're at. I haven't got a lot of like negativity at the minute in my life, which means I'll probably get like a truckload next year.
Yeah.
You don't avoid it for
Little
long.
cycles and things, yeah.
So when I'm writing, and obviously I'm in quite a long-term relationship, it's tough to be like, we can write a breakup song. It's like, well, I can't write a song about a new partner, because then the missus will be like, well, who's this about?
Into loads of bother.
Yeah, and then the same way, like the slow songs, that, as I say, that one's more about just really suffocating with how much workload there is. And to be fair, that's probably a headspace I'm in quite a lot, which is why a lot of my songs are Burning Alive or Horizon, Overboard.
Sort of stress related kind of, yeah.
But I tend to find, like, sometimes you can write songs without being in the mind space, but they come a lot quicker and easier when you're in the mind space. You're like, boom, it's out there, like, I need to write that before it's gone.
Yeah.
Otherwise you spend like hours on a song, get bored after 20 minutes and be like, if I'm bored of it now, I'll be bored of it later.
Yeah, I agree with that, because there's so many times you're trying to sort of force the issue, aren't you? And like, okay, well, this song naturally said to you, like for instance, if you start writing a song at a certain time and you write half of it, but then you come back to it later and go, I better finish that song, but you're not in that same space. You don't really know what the song's saying. You don't really know what the song's trying to get across. Mm-hmm. So it is difficult that. I tend to listen to stuff. So if I'm, again, halfway through writing a song, I want to get the rest of the song written in a certain way, I listen to other stuff that would put me in that, make me feel like that, or take me back to certain moments in my life where I've felt that's that way. And that's quite an interesting way of doing it, but I do agree. I think you need to be in a certain mindset to get the best out of yourself. Do you like your lyrics left to interpretation, or do you want the true meaning of your songs, especially a song like Horizon, to be known to people?
It doesn't really matter too much to me, because like Ed Sheeran said it once. He was like, all the songs that he wrote, once they're released, they're no longer his songs. Like, if you make a piece of art, it's someone else's now. It doesn't matter what the intention was. There are some lyrics that I'll come across and I'll be like, I was really proud of that. I kind of hope someone gets what that meaning is. Yeah. But, like, Horizon to me might be me saying, I've got like 17 projects on the go. I'm recording this album whilst I'm trying to juggle this and this. But it might be somebody else who's like, I've just like lost my job, or this has happened to me, or somebody else who might have maybe a more positive upspin on it. And just because it's a slow song doesn't mean something beneficial to someone else. No, that's right. But I think it's, in terms of it being a piece of art, it's just down to whatever somebody else sees it as. Yeah. But they're probably all like, you'll know yourself. You'll have some lyrics where you're like, I hope to God they know what that means, because that was fantastic. Yeah. I had a minute of genius there. That's the one.
Yeah. So have you got like a favourite lyric that you've written, like of all the songs that you've got?
Top of my head, I've got a song called Flowers on a Bridge. And that's, as you can tell, that's not a very upbeat song.
Slow flowers, slow bridge.
Yeah. And it's essentially a story about a fictional person. It's the first ever song I wrote that was fictional. Like, I mean, I say that I drove past the Tyne Bridge, there was flowers on the bridge, and I went, that sounds like a good song title. But every other song I've written tends to have either me or someone else has been in that situation.
Yeah, someone you know, someone you're close to.
Yeah, this is the first like the first fictional song written, and it's basically just a story about a guy who's having a really tough time, and it gets worse and worse, and then he's like, right, it's just easier if I lose the fight, kind of thing. Yeah. If I remember the lyric in the chorus, it's something along the lines of he keeps it bottled deep down inside, the easiest place for lonely to hide. And like, just like breaking it down, it's kind of like everybody gets that kind of, that's where your loneliness hides, is when you just keep it.
Yeah, you're fronting it out, aren't you? Yeah, and putting that brave face on. Yeah,
and there's probably loads of other lyrics that I'd be proud of, but top of my head, I think that was my most poetic song, so I think I'm probably going to find one of my favourite lyrics in that one.
Yeah, no, that's class at
the moment, you know.
So obviously we're both performers and we both play various different types of stuff. And you do the band stuff, and I'll do the band stuff, and we both do solo stuff as well. In terms of songs that you've that you play live, cover songs, have you got a favourite lyric from another song, like just in general?
Possibly. Again, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. But to spin it on that, rather than the lyrics, sometimes, and I might relate it back to the first thing you said about the whole being in a mood. Not necessarily the lyric, but what I enjoy about like cover songs is if I'm in the same mood as the song I'm picking, sometimes you can feel that you're expressing the art how it should be because you see how the crowd responds.
Yeah.
So I've done a few sad songs where I'm just like not in the right mindset, and like I'll really emphasize the song itself. And then you can see somebody crying in the crowd. And you're like, it's not even my song, but it's the way I portrayed it.
Yeah. I think that's the whole believing in your delivery, isn't it? And,
yeah.
Doubling down on that and making sure that you perform it in the way that the song should be performed.
Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of like a specific lyric, there's a Damien Rice song called Coconut Skins. Not entirely sure what the song's about. But there's a lyric in it where it's time is contagious, everybody's getting old. And it's kind of like it's quite a good, insightful way of thinking about it.
Everything's catching you up.
Yeah. Like everybody catches it. It's very contagious disease time.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah.
What do you, in your opinion, what do you think makes a great song?
If it fits, I suppose. Like the entire song has to be right. You can't just have really poetic lyrics and then a song that doesn't fit that vibe. If I'm writing a really slow song, I can't put it into like a hip hop grind thing. But if I'm writing a really energetic song, I can't just start putting like a couple of finger picks in between. Like I feel like the full song has to be complete.
Yeah, it's coherent, doesn't it?
Otherwise, it's just a poem.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's what's important is
the music has to match the
full
lyrics.
thing.
Class. So tell me about this second song you're going to play for me.
Yeah, so this one is Overboard. This is currently a single that's out now as we record this. It's a really weird one actually, to be fair, because I think I wrote this one after Horizon and I was in that nautical sense of things. So Overboard is, again, the same kind of thing with Horizon where it's too much, just throw me off the ship, I'm done kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which links you into you fell into the waves, which I never thought about, but that works.
Yeah.
But it was really different because it's kind of got a slight sea shanty thing behind it. And it's kind of like you've got everybody's working hard on the ship essentially, and you're like, this is just too much, just throw me overboard. And the lyrics are hit and miss if you can kind of get it, because it was only the other day Ashley realised that it says throw me down into the salt, and she's like, what does that mean? It's like salt water. She's like, oh, that makes sense now. Yeah. Although with this song, what I have noticed is it's very, very important to pronounce your words, because I did a TikTok video where I was advertising the song, and you can click auto captions. It gives the lyrics.
Yeah, don't ever do that.
Yeah, it said that I'm asking people to throw me all the boys, so I've got a nice flamboyant version coming soon.
No judgment is made here.
But yeah, it's Overboard.
Class.
There's a storm up ahead, and it's coming straight for me. It clearly wants me dead. It won't stop, can't you see? Throw me down into the salt. Let me sink until I stop. Nothing here to help me float. Let me sink until I stop. Oh, 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 oh. Throw me overboard. Throw me overboard. Oh, 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 oh. Throw me overboard. Throw me overboard. It's been quiet for a while. Are we stuck inside the eye? It tries to derail our lives. Should it win? this time. Throw me down into the salt. Let me sink until I stop. Nothing here to help me float. Let me sink until I stop. Oh, 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 oh. Throw me overboard. Throw me overboard. Oh, 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 oh. Throw me overboard. Throw me overboard. Throw me down into the salt. Let me sink until I stop. Nothing here to help me float. Let me sink until I stop. Oh, 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 oh. Throw me overboard. Throw me overboard. Oh, 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 oh. Throw me overboard. Throw me overboard. Oh, 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 oh. Throw me overboard. Throw me overboard. Oh, 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 oh. Throw me overboard. Throw me overboard.
Right, back to part 3 here. So, Overboard.
Yes.
Where did you start with writing that one? Was there a particular moment of influence?
Yeah, weirdly enough, it was from an Ollie Murs song.
Right.
And going completely backpedal on everything I said about writing songs, I wrote this music first. Because again, with me, music isn't the full production because I'm just an acoustic guitarist. It's just a guitar. And I think I must have gigged a song, Please Don't Let Me Go, is, if you play it right, it's like capital 3, E minor, A minor, C, D, all the way through.
Yeah.
But I've recently been playing a D chord slightly different, where instead of your normal D chord, it's kind of like your C but moved across 2 frets.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
I'm not really musical minded, so I don't know what chord that is specifically, but it works. And I was kind of playing the Ollie Murs song in that way, instead of the normal D. And then when I got back, I was like, if I take the cap off, it sounds slightly different. So I've completely capoed it off, it's 3 keys lower, and it just sounded different to that. Right. And I think I kind of just got the melody into, I must have done like Drunken Sailor that day or something, because I was just in that mindset. But it came off that song originally.
And so when you, obviously, as you say, you start off with your acoustic guitar. How does the journey then go from you writing that on acoustic guitar, having your lyrics, and then taking that to like the finished version that you would release as a single? Like, what's the process for you?
Yeah, so my process is easier now because I use voice notes. Didn't used to use them, but they're very important. Yeah. Because you come back to a song and be like, I don't remember the melody to that, but the lyrics are there. So what I do now is I'll write the song, record the song vocally when it's written down, so that I've got at least I remember the melody.
Melodies, yeah.
And I send a demo to, I've been using a studio, Blast Studio.
Oh yeah.
In Newcastle, and Andy Bell's produced this EP, the last EP, and the album coming out. And I literally will go down, he's got the demos, or the voice notes that I've sent him. Then we compile a playlist of songs. He's like, if you just put songs that you want, obviously not to sound like, but similarities to, like, do you like the vocal sound of that one, do you like the guitar sound of that one, do you like the drum sound of that one? And then there's a playlist of loads of different songs, and he'll listen to them all and help compile different ideas on what to do. So then we'll get in the studio, we'll do your basic guide tracks where it's guitar and vocal, and then we just play about it together. You go, all right, we'll try the synth, we'll do this, we'll try that different sound. And it comes through as a big team thing. So I think when I started out, songwriting sounded like you were the songwriter, you had to write the lyric and the guitar and that was it done. But then the massive change after, so the previous album I had was at a homemade studio with my mate Rich, and this one being a higher end one, you can like see a difference in how it gets done.
Yeah.
And I think it came from a chat I had with you, because you were talking about, is it Curse and Corrected was the album you had?
Yeah.
But you were saying it was an album that you spent more on it, but you could hear the quality difference.
Yeah, totally.
And like everyone else is like, oh, but there's no point spending this much on the album. And it's like, well, I'm gonna try anyway.
We've had a lot of conversations like that recently about like where when you are trying to put yourself out there, like where you can spend infinite money on everything, but like where are the big things that make the difference?
Yeah.
Like, is it great to spend a lot of money on a music video? Is it great to spend a lot of money on your music production, or do you spend it all on merchandise and just sell tons of t-shirts?
Yeah.
Like there's so many different ways of doing it, but if you're working with like a producer that understands your where you're coming from and what you want to try and achieve from your act, then that's half the issue. Like if you've got the right person on board, they'll see and they'll try and they'll ask the questions of you that you can't ask yourself. Like a bit like you said about the whole having lists of songs to listen to and go like reference points of, well, actually I really love the intro in this, could we do something which was a bit lo-fi? Or could we use some synths that sound a bit like this? Like having all of them little nuances in your songs, it's what the big acts do. It's having been able to create something which actually, if you flicked onto it on Spotify from a top 40 song, would it sound any different? Like
exactly.
it's making sure that you sound like you belong in there.
Yeah. No, and I think that's it. And in terms of the songwriting, the producer's probably the big step in that. But yeah, it's just, I think that investment's massive for musicians.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
So what were you listening to when you were growing up? And obviously we spoke a little bit earlier on about how you got into music, but did you have I want to do that moment? Did you see somebody perform and go, that seems like a little bit of me, that?
Yeah, so I went to see Ed Sheeran in 2017, again, roughly when I was just kind of learning the guitar. And he's done his arena tour with Divide. And at that point, it was just really fun to play guitar. But watching him on stage with a guitar in a loop pedal, no band, and the entire crowd just being like, we're in with this. It was like, wow, you can get one person to do it. It's so impressive when you see the ins and outs of it. And it's mental that there's still people to this day that'll be like, oh, he's just playing with a backing track. It's like, no, you don't get the act. It's a full-on like live production. It's basically going to a recording studio in front of the crowd and be like, this is what I'm doing for you now. Here's the drum, here's the guitar, here's the backing vocals.
It is really, really clever how he runs it. Like,
it's brilliant. And like, there's a lot of people who be like, oh, I don't like Ed Sheeran, it's too mainstream. But you can't deny the quality that he built himself up with.
No, definitely not. I mean, again, like for me, songs themselves transcend the genre and transcend stylistic approach. And if you have a song which has a great melody, has a great structure to it, then it's a great song regardless of whether it's your cup of tea. Yeah. Like there's so many like massive rock songs out there that people are like, I'm not really into rock music, but it's a great song. You can't deny it hasn't got all of the bells and whistles that you would want in a song. So I totally get that with Ed Sheeran. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was definitely my point of, I'm buying a loop pedal. And then I couldn't figure it out, gave up on it. Because I got one of them little RC30s, you know, the little one pedal thing.
Yeah.
You press the button once to record, twice to stop, 3 times to play again. And I was like, it's just so much like
on one button.
Getting right. And then eventually I got the 300, which is a bigger version. It's got 3 tracks in it, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And it was just easier to put them down.
Yeah.
Then I broke that one, and then I got the 600, which is now 6 tracks.
Right.
400, I think, sorry. But yeah, and it's a lot easier when you can press record, play, stop all, play all kind of thing, rather than having to be like, oh, I just need to get that in time. I couldn't do that. So yeah.
I was looking at Ed Sheeran's got this custom one, hasn't he? It's like mental what it does.
Yeah. I think he does everything, but that's the one he gigs with as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because he's brought his own out, hasn't he? As like as a product you can buy.
Yeah, that's right.
It's insane, isn't it?
It's
so cool.
Came out about 2 weeks after I bought my new loop pedal. I was like, well, too late now. Yeah.
I should have got 14-day money
quarantine.
Right. So as part of the song stories thing that we'll want to try and bring to the channel and that at the moment. I'm wanting to bring people in, asking to do a cover version of a song.
Yeah.
Basically just based on what as everything you said, like all about your influence and stuff. So tell me about the song you picked. Tell me why you picked that song.
Yeah. So I didn't have a specific song that got me into music, but what I tend to do when I'm writing, kind of like what you say, when you revert back to specific songs that get you into headspaces. If I'm stuck in a songwriting rut, I constantly repeat Ed Sheeran's first 2 albums, because I think as a songwriting, the second one's my favourite of all time. But they're both really good songwriting albums. And then people might say, oh, from the third one on, he got very poppy, but they were very much raw guitar, acoustic guy, busking. And I always kind of want to keep that route. I don't want to go too far into this is now a really pop song. I always want to have that songwriter.
Yeah.
But it's very easy to go pop if you stay pop. But if you just write a raw song, you can go any route you want. So I always go back to Ed Sheeran's first 2 songs whenever I'm trying to get in a headspace.
Yeah.
Of course, as I said, that was my moment of I'm going to be a loop peddler when I saw him live. And the first song I learned on guitar, technically, the first song I was trying to learn on guitar was A-Team. And the first song I played at the Buskers was Castle on the Hill.
Right, yeah.
And there's loads of other influences, such as like Ollie Murs is probably what got me into music. Believe it or not, I grew up on loads of dad rock stuff. Avril Lavigne's the first person I saw live. I've saw Busted twice now, but like, I think Twist and Shout's the first song I did at karaoke. Grew up listening to Nickelback and Def Leppard and all that kind of stuff, Whitesnake. But I've chose this cover because my biggest influence would be Ed Sheeran. And instead of just narrowing down to the one song that's the biggest influence, this is probably the one song that started his career off, which if you think is the butterfly effect, starts mine off, which starts the next person's, etc. It's the most common one known, so everybody knows it, and it's the one song that even if you don't like Ed Sheeran, you probably don't go, that's a bad song. You go, that was a good tune back in the day.
Yeah, definitely.
Because people might go, I don't like Shape of You, but if only it was back to the 18 days. It's my choice.
Good.
White lips, pale face, breathing in snowflakes, burn long, so it tastes. Lights gone, days end, struggling to pay rent, long nights, strange men. And they say she's in the class 18, stuck in her daydream. In this way she's 18, but lately her face seems slowly sinking, wasting, crumbling like pastries. And they scream the worst things in life come free to us. She's just under the upper hand. Oh, my poor couple grand. She don't wanna go outside tonight. In the pipe she flies to the motherland, sells love to another man. It's too cold outside for angels to fly. Angels fly. Ripped gloves, raincoats, tried to swim and stay afloat. Dry house, wet clothes. Loose change, banknotes, weary eyes with dry throats. Poor girl, no fool. And they say she's in the class 18, stuck in her daydream. In this way since 18, but lately her face seems slowly sinking, wasting, crumbling like pastries. And they scream, worst things in life come free to us. She's just under the upper hand. Owes my poor couple grand. We don't wanna go outside tonight. In the pipe she flies to the motherland, sells love to another man. It's too cold outside for angels to fly. Angel will die, covered in white. Close eyes and hoping for a better life. Oh, this time, fade out tonight, straight down the line. they say she's in the class 18, stuck in her daydream. Been this way since 18, but lately her face seems slowly sinking, wasting, crumbling like pastries. And they scream the worst things in life come free to us, and we're all under the upper hand. Go mad for a couple crowns. We don't wanna go outside tonight. In the fight we fly to the motherland. We sell love to another man. It's too cold outside for angels to fly. Angels fly, to fly. Angels to fly, to fly, to fly. An angel to die.
So welcome back to the final part of this, our first Song Stories episode. Now, two things I want to ask you before we wrap this one up, Conor.
Cool.
If you were to give one piece of advice to any budding musician, what would that be?
Just do it. There's a lot of like humming and hawing about, oh, is my song ready? Just release your first song, right? And if I released my first song ever called Breaking Out Here, and it was an absolute mess. So that got taken down immediately. And we recorded an acoustic version at a different place, and it sounded better. But if you think of an idea, just do the idea. And then if it doesn't work out, you can go, oh, well, that didn't work. Or if it does, you go, yeah, that was a great idea, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
I did a UK tour last year, and it was only like 6 dates for different cities. And at the start of the tour, it was kind of like, I don't know what to expect. By the end of it, I didn't realise how much I'd learned. Even though it was like 6 dates over 4 months, and it wasn't back to back. But it's kind of like, the first gig was alright, then the second gig, I may have expected too much because of the first gig. Then the third gig, there wasn't much of a crowd, but I picked the wrong support act. Instead of just going, oh, I'll have my mate support, you've got to have one that matches the show.
Yep.
And the next gig, I was like, oh, I might mix the setup, and then the crowd really liked that set, and I was like, oh, it works to actually change about here and there. And then the final gig, I was like, I might have between the acts, like a personalised Spotify playlist so it fits the genre you've got in.
Yes.
Because they were just going to play all like Nickelback, and I was like, as much as I don't mind it, it doesn't fit what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
And there were like little bits and stuff like that I wouldn't have figured out if I hadn't have just went for that tour. That people are like, oh, you can't do a tour because you're not that known. So, no, but I've learned a lot just in them 6 dates.
Yeah.
And like, there's so much more I've learned this year from just doing little bits and stuff.
Yeah.
So I've got a gig on the 23rd, and I'm trialling for the first time having just the one support act.
Yeah.
Because you get, the way I see it is, if you go and see a show and you want to see the headline, sometimes you have to sit through the support. Sometimes they're really good, and sometimes you're like, that was alright. But then if you're not mainstream and people are just coming to see you, you don't want to be bored for the 2 acts.
No.
Not to say that the acts are bad, but if they're coming to see you, they're not always that interested in the act.
Yeah, totally.
So instead of dulling the show, I've just got one really good act. Georgina Gale, she's fantastic, and then it'll be myself.
Yeah.
And it's the trial of, it doesn't matter about having 2 support acts because they'll sell tickets. It's not, the show's going to be better for this.
Yes.
I've got another show in February. Be my first ever Sunday show. I've always done them on Fridays or Saturdays.
Yeah.
So doors are going to open early. It's going to finish about 9ish, if not 8:30. Gives people a chance to kind of leave, and it's just trial of, does that time make a difference, or does that support make a difference?
It's about the experience, isn't it? And what you want is you want people to be coming to shows going, really excited about this because of this. I'm really excited about this because of this. And having that unique selling factor of what you're trying to put on. Which kind of brings us on to which is my last question for you, is what's next for you? Now I know you've got an EP in the pipeline, and you've got your album out for next year. So tell us a little bit about your thinking behind how, obviously I know your album's pretty much done already, isn't it? And but you've got the EP. So tell me a little bit about your thinking behind these next steps for you, and exactly what they are.
Yeah. So the album itself is probably my most favourite project I've done. It's been a while since I've wrote songs that I thought this will be my best work. Although now I'm writing the second album, I'm already like, this is even better, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had the album written over the space of a few years, I'd say, and we started it last year, as in 2023. And the plan was to kind of start building a fan base or just some sort of social media presence before it came out. So in August 2023, we did a Horse Outside cover. That went massive because of the song that's known. And then after that, Come and Kiss Me came out as a single, which was part of the first EP I did this year.
Yeah.
But because Horse Outside did well, Come and Kiss Me, instead of it getting its normal 200 streams, on like 52,000 at the minute, and it just it took up. And like the EP did all right. So I know the plan for next year, but the plan for next year started like 4 years ago, kind of thing. And it's like, if I'm gonna have this album out, we've got that cover that's made the social media presence big. Then you've got the EP to kind of keep Spotify like, oh yeah, you're on the playlist, keep that going. And then it got to the summer of this year, the first EP came out, and I was like, I need something to fill this year up.
Yeah.
So that's when I quickly put together, I'd had the songs written, I was like, right, I'm going to make these songs the second EP just to get through this half of the year. So when this EP's out November, the first single of the album will be out in the last day of January. So I'm doing a little Billings gig to coincide the single release.
Nice.
Then I've got a song on the album, it's called Land of the Green. It's a Irish kind of song. It's gonna plan to come out Paddy's the weekend and make a big thing about St. Patrick's Day. Then I'll pick 3 other songs, so there'll be 5 singles in total that'll come out through next year. And then the album will be out back end of August.
Bro.
And then I'm still on like project planning, like I'm toying with doing a collaboration EP with a bunch of local artists.
Yeah.
Obviously I've got the second album to write and stuff. But it's like I said before, it's just about kind of trial and error, so each gig's going to be different. Like I did it's kind of like an open mic night thing, but kind of like our Filthies that we did.
Yeah.
Where it's not an open mic night, but there's a set musician on kind of thing.
Okay, got yeah.
At a pub called the Tipsy Toad in Heaton.
Right.
Really small place, fantastic. Came down there. They loved it so much that when you want to do a proper show. But my thinking is, if I do too many Newcastle shows, how many people are going to turn up to this one?
That's totally
That's
yeah.
the plan. So this trial one is, I'm looking at just taking a hit with a cost and being like, it's like maybe a free entry and a free drink if you come down, really pack it out and just kind of show this is the next single that's out. Every gig I'll do will give an option to sign up to a mailing list I've got.
Yeah.
And if you're on the mailing list, you'll get discounted tickets for shows and stuff like that. And
all about them little incentives, isn't it?
that's it, but it's the little things. So people might not be interested in the Tipsy Toad gig, but they might be interested in the Chase the Day gig that I'm hoping's at Think Tank. But they're all like leading into each other.
Yeah.
So my plan is just to kind of start unraveling and just see what kind of rolls out, really.
Yeah.
And then, as I said to you earlier, my songs seem doing well in like Netherlands and Germany. So the plan is, because next year I've got a bit of a time delay because we've got a bit of a pregnancy expected in March. So there's not a lot I can do around that. So when the album's out August, I'll look to do another kind of UK tour in 2026. And then I'm looking to do a European tour 2027. And I've got like a list that just goes all the way on for years and years.
That's class.
But yeah, it's just...
I thought I was well planned. I'm about a year in advance, but like...
I've just got like loads of stuff. It's like, this will be the release date. Half of it might not happen. But I suppose...
It's looking ahead though, isn't it? And it's about trying
making sure it's ready for the next
step. And I suppose one big thing is we're not here for a long time. Like we haven't got like masses and masses of years that we can chase it, and like it's about knowing what we want to get out of it and what we want to achieve from it. But yeah, I think your plans are made. Like, it's amazing.
Again, whether they work or not is different.
Well, that's it, yeah.
But it goes back to my earlier point. If you try it and you go, that worked or that didn't, it worked.
Yeah, it's hitting on the chin, don't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think the main reason I put the album out as well is because, again, why have an album when you can do single? But it's a piece of art that probably works well together. And because of the new production value I've got, when I start doing festivals and applying for stuff, I've got
I think albums hit harder. I think having obviously singles are nice, and it's nice to get them out there and drip feed your music. And obviously you get that. Yeah. You can have that spread then over a longer length of time. But if if you do 5 singles into an album and then the album drops, I think that's where you really want to be with it. And I mean, that's the reason everybody does it that way, isn't it? That's like, people say, oh, there's not really a tried and tested way to, well there is. Yeah. There is a way of doing it. And you can obviously, there's room in there for manoeuvre and how you artistically want to do it, how do you want to release things. But no, I'm over the moon. Firstly, that you obviously you're getting married and you're having a child, starting the next load of musicians off. But I'm so pleased that you've got the EP coming out, the album coming out, and more importantly that you've been able to come and join me here today on what's the first song stories that we're going to be doing.
You're fantastic this year.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us.
I look forward to watching the next ones you get on as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun little project, and using the studio obviously to its full capabilities as well. And we just want to try and get some people in here. And the beauty about this is a tester. This is a bit of a dipping my toe in the water of what I'm capable of doing as well with it. But hopefully, if people enjoy it, then we can start and build on it and push the boundaries of what we're capable of here. And then we're going to do one at the beginning of February, which will be for our new album, and talking about all of that kind of thing. So boy, the tease about that one then. Yeah. But no, thanks so much for coming to join us on this one.
That's been good. Thank you very much for having me.
Anytime. Thanks very much, guys, for tuning in. We've got loads more of these coming throughout January. This was a little taster because I know Conor's got his EP coming out. We want to get this out nice and early. If you enjoyed it, please tag your friends in it, get it shared around, and hopefully we'll bring you lots more of these song stories.